Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of the Latter-Day Talking Points podcast. I am your host, also evangelist and director of Latter-Day Sense Evangelism Ministry. My name is Adam Thomas Dommeyer, and I'm here with an encouraging word for you, something to think about from the Bible, because as we discuss the truth claims of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and other Mormon denominations, it's very important to take a look at what is the gospel and what constitutes as another gospel or a different gospel. So the gospel in of itself is the good news of Jesus Christ. What is the good news of Jesus Christ? That he came to this earth, he lived a perfect life, he atoned for our sins, died on the cross, he was raised from the dead 3 days later, and eventually he ascended into heaven, and he will come back for us one day, and he will return to this earth in a physical appearing. Now, with this good news of Jesus Christ, we as Christians believe that this good news is to be sent all around the world. Matthew chapter 28, the Great Commission, discusses the details on this, that we are to go through all the world, making disciples of all nations. Now, the Apostle Paul has a unique warning in his letter to the Galatians. Check this out, chapter 1. We're going to start at verse 6 with this. This is about no other gospel. The reason why that this is very important is because the Book of Mormon has on the very front cover underneath the title, Another Testament of Jesus Christ, meaning another story about Jesus. The book itself claims that after the resurrection, he came to the Americas and witnessed to the people, especially in the book of 3rd Nephi. Now, this did not happen archaeologically. This never happened in history even, where he came to the Americas. Now, whether this is another testament or another gospel, that question is sometimes asked, but you know what? It is a different gospel. Even though the word on the front of the book says testament, the Book of Mormon itself is another gospel, which is not a true gospel. It is a different gospel, contrary to the gospel of Jesus Christ found in the Holy Bible. Now, the Apostle Paul states this, Galatians chapter 1, starting in verse 6. I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting the one who called you to live in the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel. Verse 7, which is really no gospel at all. Evidently, some people are throwing you into confusion and are trying to pervert the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel other than the one we preach to you, let them be under God's curse. As we have already said, so now I say again, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than what you accepted, let them be under God's curse. Verse 10 says, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. So there's a few things here that we need to discuss within this passage that we read. In verse 6, Paul said that he is astonished that the people are so quickly deserting the one who called you to live in the grace of Christ. Now, think about this. Jesus is the one that's calling you and me and everyone to live in the grace of Christ, in the grace of God. So what does that mean? That means that the body of believers, or the church that you are a part of, needs to be teaching the grace of Christ. That needs to be the cross of Christ, what Jesus did for us, that we are saved by our grace through faith, as Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 through 9 say. But if you're a member of a church that does not emphasize grace, but you're emphasizing the constant efforts and trying to be worthy, then the grace of God gets put on the back seat. The grace of God is not emphasized. The cross is not even emphasized. And then when Paul says that he's not even astonished at this, they're turning from the grace of Christ to what? To a different gospel. Now it says in here that even if we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel, let them be accursed. That means this. Think about in all of human history, in all of human history, how many times is there a religion that claims that an angel brought another gospel? Because I'll hear from Latter-day Saints very frequently saying, well, you know what? The letter to the Galatians was actually referring to Jews in the 1st century AD, and how the Jews were wanting to keep the law, etc. This can't talk about Mormonism. This doesn't talk about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or the Book of Mormon, because you're implying something into the scripture. We need to properly exegete it. Yes, we do need to properly exegete it, but when we look at this, it's not just specifically talking about the Jews here and circumcision and following the law, but this is what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints teaches, is a false gospel based on works of the law. Mormonism brings back not only the works of the law, but adds unto the works of the law a burden that you and I were never meant to carry. Think about this. Jesus says that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. So Latter-day Saints, the gospel that you are believing in, the quote-unquote restored gospel, that vernacular sounds great. Restored gospel, it sounds great, but it's just a piece of language that people use. It's just like when people are trying to support marriage equality, and they'll use the term marriage equality, but really they're wanting gay couples, homosexual couples to get married. They won't use the term homosexual marriage. They'll use the term marriage equality. Why? Because that phrase sounds better. They're playing on language, okay? So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is using similar tactics when it uses phrases such as the restored gospel. It's not actually restored, because the gospel never went away. It was never lost from the earth. There were pockets of apostasy here and there throughout time, throughout the church age, but here is the beauty of what God testifies in the Bible, is that Jesus will be with you throughout all ages, even until the end of the earth. This is so powerful, because think about how many religions out there teach that an angel brought a gospel to them. How many religions are there? Well, Islam, for example, where Muhammad claimed that the angel Gabriel showed up to him in the cave Hira, just outside of Mecca in present-day Saudi Arabia. Then you have Joseph Smith, who claimed that an angel of light appeared to him on September 21st, 1823, and then appeared to him on the same day for 4 years in a row, up until 1827, when he claimed to unearth the golden plates, which supposedly became the Book of Mormon, which he worked on translating with the help of scribes. That was eventually published in March of 1830. But right here it says that if an angel from heaven comes to you with another gospel. Again, I'm going to ask this question to Latter-day Saints. How many religions out there are claimed to have been given another gospel from an angel? There's not many. And think of it, it's right on the front cover of the Book of Mormon. It says another testament of Jesus Christ. And here Paul's warning us in Galatians about another gospel of Jesus Christ. We've got to put the two and two together here, because Latter-day Saints, I love you enough to share the truth with you. It's hard to hear. I myself had a burning in the bosom experience when I was 14 years old. And I started believing in the Book of Mormon, and then I almost converted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints back in the summer of 2003. And I chose not to. And that was the best decision of my life, is choosing not to join the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because it is not a Christian church. No matter how much they are trying to, even some members are wearing crosses, even at the new Temple Square, right next to the temple, they have a new statue that's been unveiled of Jesus carrying the cross, which is not there before, because Latter-day Saints have a really interesting and mixed history when it comes to the usage of the cross. And we've got to know this here, because it says that Paul says, if anyone comes to you with another gospel, either that person or the angel from heaven, let them be under God's curse. Okay, that means that the angel Moroni is under God's curse. Joseph Smith was under God's curse. Okay, so this is really important to recognize. I hope that you're able to really take the time to really study this passage out in Galatians chapter 1, because it's so important. the good news for you, and this might not seem like good news in the moment, but the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not true. There is no justification for its establishment because the true authority of God never left the face of the earth. The true authority of God has always been with his people who have always been on this earth. If it was the case that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints needed to even be established in 1830, that means that Jesus Christ himself failed at his role to keep his church together. Joseph Smith even said this in History of the Church, Volume 6, pages 408 to 409. Joseph Smith said that not even Peter, Paul, nor even Jesus could keep a whole church together. And he even said, too, that he has more to boast of than any man, because he's the only one that is able to keep a church together. And not even Jesus could do it. What does that say? That's so powerful. You see what happened in the book of Acts to Herod when he was speaking, and then the people in the audience were saying, no, this is like the voice of a God. And Herod accepted that praise, and what happened? God allowed him to die of worms from the inside. Herod died of worms because he accepted that praise as a God. Now, what happened with Joseph Smith? Did God take him out? Yes, absolutely. Because not long before his death, Joseph Smith preached the King Follett Discourse, in which was his most blasphemous sermon ever, in which he had said that there were multiple gods and we have to learn to become gods ourselves. Now, Deuteronomy in the Bible warns against this, that if there's any prophet that teaches you to follow after other gods, that he should be put to death. And what happened to Joseph Smith not long after he gave the King Follett Discourse, encouraging people to go after other gods and that they could become gods as well? Joseph Smith was dead. He was shot dead. He was not martyred. He was killed because of the ongoing blasphemy that he would not stop speaking and preaching, deceiving the people of God with his false teaching. So, Latter-day Saints, I want to encourage you with this word. Continue to dive into the Bible. Read the New Testament as a child. I know that you have the Holy Bible and your standard works as one of your 4 books. But the problem with that, though, is that the footnotes at the bottom of it that correlate to the other standard works, that's giving a skewed view of what the Bible actually means. Take the Bible out, read it for yourself, because Mormonism is not found in the Bible. So I want to encourage you with that the Book of Mormon is a different gospel. It is foreign to Christianity, and people should not follow and believe in the Book of Mormon. Until next time, I'm your host, Adam Thomas Dommeyer, evangelist and director of Latter-Day Sense Evangelism Ministry, and your host of Latter-day Talking Points podcast. I'll talk to you soon.